What is going on, Governors? Chisgule here, and today we're going to update the legendary tier list with reviews for Sunset Canyon. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. As many of you know, we keep a tier list where we rank every single epic and legendary in Rise of Kingdoms on a common scale. That scale, we'll have a little graph showcasing that up in front and center. If you want to see all of the epic ratings, card up in the top for the video where we talk about that. In this video, we're talking about legendaries, and we're updating our legendary tier list with ratings for Sunset Canyon. Now, in this video, we're going to be talking exclusively about Canyon. If you want to see all the other categories that we evaluate these commanders on and what our thoughts are across all those categories, card up in the top for the full video on the legendary tier list that doesn't have Canyon, that's got everything else. In this video, we're honing in on Canyon ratings. Now, if you like Rise of Kingdoms videos where we rank commanders and help you figure out which ones are the best to invest in, then please do like and subscribe. That way you know when new videos are going live. Let's get right into the commanders that we would rate from bottom to top. And let's start with all the commanders that get an A. Let's start with all the commanders that get an A, and that includes Charlemagne, Cao Cao, Frederick I, Hannibal Barca, Minamoto, El Cid, and that's a long list. Now, why is that? Let's start with our good friend Charlemagne. We gave him an A because he's really designed for rallying stuff. However, this is really quite good. The second talent makes it so that as you're getting hit, you have a chance to gain a shield, which is really actually deceptively good. He gets an A. He's fine, but not stupendous. In a similar vein, I think Cao Cao is a cool pick if what you want to do is have a high DPS army. That said, this day and age, cavalry are going out of favor for Canyon, and so I gave him just an A. Frederick I is a really fascinating commander, and it could be that with the advent of new rage engines into the game, he will see more of a predominant sort of a role here. The challenge is that he doesn't do area of effect damage, and for that reason, you really need your damage to be AoE. He's missing that, and so we can't give him higher than an A. I do like that you can bring more troops to the battlefield, but I just don't think he's quite where he needs to be. In a similar vein, Minamoto, solid cavalry commander, but losing favor toward the end game and Rise of Kingdoms. And El Cid, a very solid archer commander. He may see a rise with the advent of all of these infantry that have become very predominant in this mode, but also with the addition of hopefully some new archer commanders in a Rise of Kingdoms sometime soon. Maybe with some other commanders that he could pair with, we'll see him do more work in this mode in particular. Now let's talk about the next level up, which is the A+. That includes, and we'll start with, Julius Caesar. Now Julius Caesar is an interesting commander because he's going to generate extra rage as a primary, depending on what talents you've used. He's going to be very tanky, and he's going to help you bring more troops to the battlefield. I've seen Julius Caesar be used very effectively, it's almost like shockingly effectively in this game mode. He gets an A+. I'll give it to him. In a similar vein, Tamaris is offering a really solid debuff. However, I can't give her much higher than an A+ for this particular game mode. She's solid, but not stupendous. Continuing on, Attila we gave an A+. He's a solid commander, but he's not really slaying it in this open field context where we're doing single target damage. I think he's fine, but not amazing. I've heard that you can do really great things with him on offense, but I haven't really been able to replicate it. In a similar vein, Edward of Woodstock, I've seen him in some lineups. He's fine, but not stupendous. He does get all of his skills to be relevant in this context of this game mode, but, I mean, I guess you pair him with El Cid. I don't know, maybe with some additional archer options, we'll have more things we can do with him. The most natural pair is, of course, Edward and Tamaris. Now, keying back on one commander, I forgot to actually um, dive into a moment ago when I was discussing him. I do want to hit on Hannibal Barca just real quick. As a primary, he's really not all that impressive. As a secondary, I actually think he's pretty decent. He is hitting multiple targets, but the problem is he's just not doing all that much damage. He is debuffing them in a way that's pretty effective. He also lets you bring more troops to the battlefield. You want to use a mixed march to get the most value from him, but he's really not higher than an A. Now let's start to talk about some of the bigger hitters here. Let's go to S minus. At the S minus, one of the first commanders I would mention is Mehmed II. This commander is a shocking addition. However, he does AoE, and that AoE damage is crucial in this game mode. He lets you bring more troops to the battlefield, crucial in this game mode, and he also is very complementary to whatever commander you're going to pair him with, elevating damage. This commander I would not have expected to be as good as he is in this mode, but he is quite strong. Another commander that we're really liking in this game mode that I didn't expect is Takeda. Takeda is very, very solid. If you pair this commander with someone who's got a rage engine, like Saladin or Khan, I personally use Khan, which again is a shocking combination. You wouldn't have expected it. He's going to fire off his active skill a whole heck of a lot. He's going to do a lot of normal attack damage, but he's also going to heal a lot. And that sustain is really shockingly good in this game mode. Plus, he's got some tankiness in the fourth skill. This commander is very good in Canyon. I have been very impressed. Continuing up the list is Guan Yu. Guan Yu does some work here. He silences, which sometimes is effective, sometimes isn't. He's doing AoE. He's doing big damage. He replaced, sort of, Sun Tzu in my lineup. Card up in the top where we talk about how we've changed up our lineup to account for the fact that, okay, Guan Yu, you can't just swap him out for Sun Tzu, but we did change up our lineup to put him in here, and Sun Tzu is no longer in our lineup. Continuing on, another commander at S- that we think is pretty solid is Charles Martel. Charles Martel has had a long life in Rise of Kingdoms. He does a lot of things really well, and Canyon is one of them. The shielding is good, the damage boost is good, the counterattack is good. I like this commander. He's not stupendous, but he's on the list of really tanky options that we have, and he does that well. On the opposite end of the spectrum is Khan. Khan also gets an S-. He does huge DPS. He doesn't have any sustain or tankiness, which is why I couldn't rate him any higher. His march gets just obliterated. However, he does do a huge amount of damage. Put him in the back line, and you can do some work. Let's talk about the S tier. Now this, we're starting to get to commanders that I think are among the best of the best. That includes none other than Ethelfled. That's right. Ethelfled, free to play, wins an S from Chisgule. This commander is sick. They can hit up to 5 targets. Realistically, they'll hit 2 or 3. As they do that, they've got a crazy good rage engine. They reduce the amount of skill damage they're taking. This commander does some work. I've been very happy with them. I almost can't even imagine running Canyon without them. Yeah, they earn their S. Solid rating for this commander, and it's well deserved. Another commander that is just so good in this game mode is Constantine. Constantine is solidly tanky. The heal is very meaningful from the 4th skill, and also the damage taken reduction helps the entire set of marches that you're bringing to Canyon. I think he earns his S here. He is a solid choice, and I wish I had him to include in my lineup. Another very solid new addition is Leonidas. Let me tell you, the pairings or the governors that are using Guan and Leo together are very tough to beat. They're tanky, high DPS as a combination. I think Leo is super solid. I gave him an S. I think he's earned it. I do want to battle test it a little more, but man, if we were to look down the list of folks at the top of Canyon right now, there'd be a lot of Leonidases and Guan Yus in that list. Now, one commander I imagine you'll be very happy to see at the S tier is Richard the First. He's tanky, he heals, he's doing things that other commanders can't provide. Super solid, a staple, a mainstay in Rise of Kingdoms, and a great commander investment. Richard earns his S. On the topic of commanders that earn the S, I'm going to say that Saladin is also solidly on that list. He is doing a sick debuff, reducing healing by an upwards of 50%. He's reducing the amount of damage that the March is taking, and brings a boatload of stats. I really like Saladin in this game mode. The rage engine from the support tree is super real. He is a commander I would consider swapping out for Khan in my lineup, except I just need the raw DPS that Khan is giving me, so I'm using him instead. For a time, I was using Saladin with Joan of Arc, and that pair was doing work. I mean, it really was quite exceptional. It doesn't sound like, oh, why would you... But like, look, it was a really great tanking frontline pair. Saladin, Joan of Arc, in part because the support tree is reducing skill damage taken very substantially. Combined with Saladin's own skill damage reduction, I mean, it was a good march. We've advanced past it, but it was good for its time. One other S that we can talk about before we get to the very best of the best. The very best of the best is going to be a commander we've talked about a lot, Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great is doing so many things you want here. He's shielding other marches that are weak. He is debuffing when you've got the expertise skill. The combination of those things is very powerful. He's also reducing the healing effectiveness of whatever he's hitting. This commander is magnificent in this game mode, and an S is warranted and reflects that level of contribution. He was a contender for S+, a very close contender, and you could pretty easily, I'm sure, make an argument to say, you know what, he does deserve the S+. Instead, the commander that we've given it to is none other than YSG. That's right, we've given it to Esong, and the reason is that you can hit an upwards typically of 4 marches with your Esong if you've positioned him correctly. And if you put him behind a commander like Ethelfled, I mean, you are machine gunning out that AoE damage. It's very meaningful. This skill is elevating the effectiveness of the other commander that you're with as well, which is really quite strong. He's generating rage. If you bring full archers, they're going to do just crazy amounts of damage. This commander is going to force your enemy to position their marches differently to counter what you're doing. Esong is, in my estimation, one of the strongest commanders, if not the strongest commander, overall in Rise of Kingdoms. In fact, let's put the entire sheet up onto the screen. First, we'll start with just the Canyon ratings, so you can see how that all kind of unfolded. There is one other commander, by the way, we should talk about, Wu Zetian. I gave her a C in Canyon. I mean, this is not her game mode, okay, people? She's not usable, in my opinion, for Canyon. Don't do that. Let me show you now the full list, and contained within it is some updated overall ratings. I want to talk about those for a second. You're going to notice that we actually have swapped Esong into the S+ overall rating as the best commander in Rise of Kingdoms. I think he's earned it. I think he does some really crazy stuff. Yes, AoE damage is changing in the upcoming patch. Card up in the top where we talk about that, but it's all positive changes. Folks were concerned that the marches that are in the open field now won't get hit. I think they still will. It might change the calculus if that is not how that works, but as far as what we've heard, if you're getting rallied by one, alliance, and other members of that alliance are near the flag, they'll still get hit by Esong AoE. So he gets that S+, and I think it's very well deserved, and maybe, okay, I won't say overdue, but deserved. That means Alex is bumped down to an S. Still an amazing commander. They're both fundamentally no different than they were yesterday, okay? We just updated our rating to reflect Canyon, and we put it in here because, actually, you know what? There are some changes that we've made. To that end, we've slightly bumped up Takeda, and we've moved Ethelfled from being a niche commander where we thought she was filling this role of, debuffing stuff. But I actually think she is worthy. She is worthy of a solid A+. She earns it, and it's possible we would even consider bumping that rating up. She's a very solid commander. Everyone should be investing in her. She is quite effective. We've also moved Wu Zetian from an S to an N. She's got a niche role, okay? She's good for defending stuff, and that's all you should use her for. So we now reflect that, I think, a little more cleanly in this sheet. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of these ratings. Is there a commander that I've undervalued or one that I've overvalued for Canyon specifically? I would love to know. And if you found this helpful, please do like and subscribe. That's your virtual high five to me for putting out this content. And until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.